Tony, thank you so much for joining me today, and congratulations on receiving AASHE's first Lifetime Achievement Award. Tell me, what does this recognition mean to you?
Well, Megan, first of all, I was so surprised because there are so many other incredible leaders that I had an opportunity to work with in starting this whole movement. And I was just honored and humbled and thrilled all at the same time. I guess the most important thing to me about this is the recognition by my peers. Because your peers know how difficult it is to make a cultural transformation, and that's essentially what we were trying to do. The other thing that was really important is because it means what really is the most important thing to me. It means that our movement has traction. The fact that you can give someone a lifetime achievement award means that there has been a lifetime of work in this area, and that is music to my ears. Because when I started out doing this work, like many others that started out, we felt like we were voices crying in the dark, and now to see the traction that we have is just it's incredible. And I guess finally the thing that I hope this does is that it will encourage others to take bold action and see that even though the odds are against you, even though it might seem like you're pushing a boulder uphill, that if you really stay persistent and you focus on the dream and you work with others, you can make some incredible changes. So for all of those reasons, I'm just, I don't know what to say. I'm just so honored.
Well, Tony, wise words as always, and I'm so honored to be able to give this award to you on behalf of the entire AASHE community. Though we're sorry we can't have you in person at the AASHE conference. Really excited to be able to, again, acknowledge all of your hard work over many decades with this Lifetime Achievement Award. So congratulations. While I have you, I would love to ask a couple of other questions. So thinking back on your decades of work advancing sustainability in higher education, when you first started, what was your vision?
Well, here's how it started. I was working for the original Environmental Protection Agency when it was started. Then I had the privilege of becoming the commissioner of the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. And that was during the 1970s and early 80s when all the seminal environmental legislation was established in the country. And it was a privilege to be part of that. But one of the things I noticed was that no matter what public health, environmental, health and safety issue we were dealing with, there was always the same issue. There was always the same resistance. Jobs versus the environment, grow now, worry later. There will be no innovation by industry, by communities, by individuals. And I couldn't understand why, with all my background, that I couldn't help people see things differently. And what that led me to understand is that the problem was a mindset. And I began to understand that maybe the problem was in the way in which we were educating people. And so that led me to say, let me try to find out how we are educating that is contributing to this problem, and how might we change the way we educate and operate so that in fact we can create a transformative change to eliminate them in the first place. So that's what got me. And my goal was when I realized what David Orr told us, and that is that the people that are leading us down the unhealthy, inequitable, and unsustainable path were coming out of the best colleges, universities, and professional schools, was not a problem in education, it was a problem of education. And I realized that what we really needed to do was to create an environmentally literate society. And that's what got me, that's what the motivation really was. Because I couldn't see ways that we could transform society unless we could transform the mindset.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tony. So given where we are now, what's your hope for the future?
Well, my hope for the future is actually a very simple one, and that is when I look at where we are in we have an existential crisis. And that existential crisis is because humans are living out of sync with the life support system and to our own peril. We never believed that the routine business of civilization could actually undercut our survival. And so what we need to do is transform the way in which we are running society, just making and doing just about everything that we do. And we need to do it in a way that we understand how to live in harmony with the life support system for our own benefit and for the benefit of future generations. And it means thinking about the fact that we don't have environmental problems per se, we don't have economic problems per se, we don't have equity issues per se, we don't have health issues per se. What we have are systemic challenges in the way in which we are living. And so my hope for the future is that we will focus on how do we create a society that works for everybody. It works for all of us now, fair and provides opportunities for everybody in society, not just the richest, and that supports the life support system and also allows future generations to have a decent quality of life. Because it is an issue of intergenerational equity. So if there's something that I would say to my AASHE colleagues is let's focus on the solutions to creating a better life for as many people as possible and not focus so much on the environmental or the justice problems, but make sure that whatever ways that we try to create a better society actually is supporting human dignity. It is providing opportunity for people to have good jobs, which are important for people's dignity, and also to make sure that we keep the life support system in good enough shape that future generations will have an opportunity to have at least as good a life as we have, and maybe even better.
That sounds like a great vision for the future, Tony. So, given the fact that you've been doing this work, sustainability in higher education, for decades now, and obviously there's a lot of challenges that our community is currently facing, what would you say helped you persevere amidst the many challenges that you faced in your career?
Well, I would say it's three things, Megan. One is to just listen to my gut and realize that the situation that we have is not right, and that you have to say to yourself, what do I really want to see happen? And in order to persevere, you have to have a vision for what the world could look like if it were operating in a much better way. So I kept my eye on the prize, and keeping your eye on the prize, I think, is really important. A second thing was to not try to do it alone, and to realize that that my vision was something that I had to find others that had the same vision. And so searching for others and finding ways to work with them, I knew was the only way to make it happen. Because not only are there strength in numbers, but you need people that you can rely on when you get attacked, and you invariably will get attacked. And I think the third thing was a really deep belief that those people that most of us in the world want to create a better world for others. And when I look at, for example, the people in higher education, the faculty, the smart, incredibly smart people that are our teachers, and the people that are trying to operate the universities in good ways. It was about how do we help them innovate and take the incredible knowledge that they have and bring it together and look at a different and more systemic perspective. So that's what kept me going, is really those three things. Just keeping, a faith in humanity, a belief that, that we could make a difference. And the third was to just reach out and work with others to help. Because the cultural transformation we're trying to make is just that. It is a cultural transformation like we've never had to try to accomplish before in the history of humanity. Right. So that can't be done by just a few people. And I think that one of the things that an abiding idea that I've always had is to always give credit to everybody other than yourself. If you want people to change, you have to, first of all, you have to understand where they're coming from. You have to understand that it's difficult for them. You have to make it in their interest, and you're best off if you want deep change to help them see that it was their idea in the first place.
Sound advice and recommendations, Tony, that I'm sure will resonate with many in our community right now that are facing some significant challenges. But I think those recommendations are sure to motivate the community. So, if there was a call to action that you would charge the AASHE community with at this point in time, again, in recognition of this Lifetime Achievement Award, in thinking about the past, how far we've come, perhaps some lessons learned, some challenges that we've been able to overcome, as well as, of course, thinking about the future, what would you charge the AASHE community with? What call to action might you charge the community with?
Well, the call to action would be to really focus on how you can help your institution focus on creating a a society that works for everybody, and that the idea of creating a healthy, just, and sustainable society is the mission of higher education. Because we wouldn't deliberately create an unhealthy, inequitable, and unsustainable society. And we're just doing it de facto. So to get people to see that, in fact, the mission of higher education is to create that. And why do we have to do that? Well, it's very simple. The reason that we find ourselves in this situation now is because we just have this idea that if we just educate people generally and we let the market forces rip, that all of society's problems will naturally be solved. Well, they haven't been. And the concept of sustainability is really a deliberate way of thinking about the factors and the strategies for making sure that everybody has a decent quality of life. That's what sustainability is about. And unfortunately, we have focused too much on it being environmental sustainability, but it's really the sustainability of the human race. And of course, you have to have the sustainability of the life support system to sustain the human race. So my suggestion to the AASHE community is to focus on those things that will allow higher education to feel like it is making a good contribution to society. So, if the challenges we're facing right now are that higher education costs are too high, well, how can we utilize the sustainability principles to help not only bring down those costs, but actually to be educating people that are going to get the kinds of jobs and create the kinds of communities that are going to be successful in the future. And what gives me great hope is now I see the leadership of presidents of colleges and universities. I see the We Are Still In movement. I see looking at the past things we've done with the president's climate commitment, looking and coming up with the tools that we need. And AASHE's leadership and the STARS program is probably the single most important tool that has been developed to help higher education move in a sustainable direction. We need, they always tell us, you measure what you value and you manage what you measure. Mm-hmm. If you don't measure it, you don't value it, and if you don't if you don't measure it, you don't manage it. Yeah. So if you don't value it, you don't measure it. If you don't manage it, if you don't measure it, you don't manage it. Sorry about that. Let me try that again. So the single most important tool that AASHE has developed has been the STARS program, because it's helped us focus on what real sustainability means, and it's helped build accountability into the system. We know that in any kind of, as individuals or as an organization, if you don't value something, you don't measure it. And if you don't measure it, you don't manage it. And so this is giving us incredible tools that is beginning the transformation. And I think if we hadn't developed the STARS program, I don't think we would have the success of the president's climate commitment. We wouldn't have this We Are Still In movement in as vigorous a way as it is. And so I say keep working on those kinds of tools that are allowing people to come together and talk about the real issues rather than looking at people's positions, which can sometimes be very polarized.
Yeah. Well, I love that call to action. What I'm hearing from you, Tony, is tapping into the mission of higher education institutions, as well as to think beyond perhaps one project, one building, one campus, but really thinking about the transformation that we need throughout society, and that tools like STARS are going to be transformative to helping campuses really measure and understand sort of the opportunities for advancing their sustainability performance. So
Yes,
Tony, yeah,
and then I would add one other thing. In what all of what I'm saying is around the idea that higher education needs to be a leader in helping society on a healthy, just, and sustainable path. So that means everything it teaches, the way it operates, the way it invests, because our endowment, what we do with our endowments, speaks volumes about our values. And if we align all of our teaching, all of our operations, all of our investing with the mission of our institution, and the mission has to be to create a healthy, just, and sustainable society, we will become the role model for the rest of society. And that's what people expect. Because the reason that we have been given this social contract where we have the ability to receive public and private funds, have academic freedom, is in exchange for providing the knowledge and the graduates that will lead to a thriving, civil, and sustainable society. And indeed, the only reason we get that role is because we are supposed to help manage, sustain, and expand civilization. And if we are not and society looks to us to anticipate, to deal with current problems, anticipate future problems, and find solutions, and be a model for what we want society to be. And if we don't do it, I don't know what other institution will do it. We're the only institution in society that's designed for the long term.
yeah,
And it's designed to educate people starting at youngest ages, educating all the future K through 12 teachers, all of the professionals, and also thinking about what future generations what opportunities future generations are going to have.
right. Wise words again, Tony. And I can't tell you how not just incredibly honored I am to be able to again award you with AASHE's first ever Lifetime Achievement Award. But I know that I speak for the entire AASHE community when I say thank you for your decades of hard work in advancing sustainability in higher education. With that, congratulations, Tony.
Thank you very much, Megan.